What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Red Feather, and today I have a little treat for you guys. As a celebration for the channel reaching 25 subscribers, I certainly can't thank you guys enough. I appreciate it. The smiles I brought to everyone, I certainly hope so. But it has been an honor. But to celebrate, I thought it would be a good idea to showcase my work to both Pixonic and the whole world to see. And so everyone can acknowledge that I'm making way better stuff than Pixonic has. The new Ducks robot sounds cool, but the name is super stupid. Pixonic, do not hate me. But I thought I would go ahead and showcase all of it. So before I continue rambling on and wasting time, let's get into it. So the first update is or event, because that's how I labeled this. We have the first update. Now, I actually don't have a name for it, because this is the very first update I officially worked on. So I'll let Pixonic decide what they're going to call the event or the update, whichever happens first. So we have ourselves a little list here, starting with the new robot, the Arbiter. Now to go ahead and clarify that this says version 4, the reason I have it set here is because I have several different... This is the final design for the Arbiter, but of all the concepts I've worked on, the Arbiter is the one I had to change the most, because I struggled a lot to getting to make one, essentially make it how it works. So it was a little rough, but this is the final design, and I think it's the best one. So the Arbiter is the name of the robot, and the faction, I chose Icarus Technologies, because I feel like some of the robots are a little bit meh, like the Mauler. Now don't get me wrong, I like the Mauler, but I really despise it a bit because of the Ajokachi. I hate the thing. Video on that will be coming soon. So we go to the description. Another top development has been created by Icarus Technologies into making a brawler that can get close no matter the situation. Using the breaking point of Icarus Technology to create a new defense system, the exoskeleton, which we'll get to in a minute, made to protect Arbiter from heavy fire. Arbiter is equipped with a targeting system to mark its foes in order to get to crush its foes without getting close. This tidbit here is in a position for its ability, which is Stalker Mark. The robot marks up to 3 robots in a certain range. Now this is to go ahead and showcase what that means. This is essentially the Pathfinder ability, but put on a completely different robot. While opposing robots are marked, the robot can activate its ability again to immediately charge towards its current target while knocking it back, and emits a shockwave upon impact, applying both lockdown and rust effects. After Arbiter charges into a robot or obstacle, it applies lockdown to itself for a short time. Anti-control can remove this effect. Now this tidbit is one a little drawback I think makes perfect sense. Because, think about it. The Arbiter charges into whatever it marks, and it would, stun itself for a bit before it can charge again. Which, right here. The robot can charge to other robots that are marked, but the shockwave will have shorter range and deal reduced damage when it comes in contact. Now, to go ahead and explain this drawback, the little drawback here is because of the ability's damage. I would say I don't have a full stat line for this, but if I were to explain how less damage it goes from reduced by 10% to 25%, because it marks up to 3 robots, not just one like the Pathfinder. His ability cooldown is 16 seconds, which I think is fair. The Pathfinder is 10 seconds if I remember. But for a robot that can mark 3 instead of just 1, I think 16 seconds is more fair. And side note, I will go ahead and acknowledge that I tried to balance these as best as possible. So if you guys disagree with some of their stats, you can go ahead and let me know in the comments what should be changed, and And don't even try to be like Pink Sonic and nerf these things to the ground, which I will not allow. Now for the range is 500 meters. Now there are two ability damage sets here for both the charge and shockwave. The charge 15,870, while the ability damage for shockwave is only around 6,000, less than 6,000. I feel like they should have different stats and not just deal the same damage. Now the effect duration for LD is lockdown, just in case those need to know, is 5 seconds along with the rust effect. Now I will go ahead and acknowledge that if I decide to do a little change here without you guys telling me, I'll probably add a separate duration for the lockdown the Arbiter gets after it charges, maybe around 6 or 7 seconds. Now the rust effectiveness is 25. This here is simply just how effective the rust effect will be, since there's no rust effect thingy per stack, if that makes any sense. And now here is the big part, the exoskeleton. Arbiter has advanced protection that blocks received damage from all sides. The exoskeleton has its own durability like a full body physical shield, but parts of it won't be destroyed when taking damage. Instead, the entire exoskeleton breaks. Sorry if I'm not fully highlighting or making a little mistake there, but whatever. While the exoskeleton is attached to the robot, it reduces the robot's base speed by 10%. So, to those curious, yes, but no. This is essentially the shell shield, shell and rook, but instead, like it said, not instead of just segments of it breaking apart, the whole thing has its own set of durability, and the whole thing breaks, like the ECU. But if you have two of them on both sides, both of them won't break if one is destroyed. And also, the drawback here is to sort of act like a weight. How your robot's getting more durability, but you move slower because it's on you like a weight. So it's essentially just a physical shield that's weighing down the robot. And the spoilers for the future, there are 2 other robots that have an exoskeleton. And then here's the exoskeleton durability, 115,000. And no, this isn't going to be like the force field where once the exoskeleton breaks off, it'll just get another one. Once the exoskeleton breaks off, it's not coming. It won't come back. And the fact that it says max here is that this number is essentially how much durability the exoskeleton will have, regardless of the Arbiter's level. This is the number it keeps throughout the entire run. I might have it to where it's half the durability at Mark 1 and doubled at Mark 2, but I'll have you guys decide that. If you think it should have half durability at level 1, or double, or just have this be the main value no matter the level, whether Mark 1, Mark 2, or Mark 3. And speaking of the levels, all the stats you'll see here, and for the others, are if the robot is level 1. I don't have numbers for them to be at Mark 3 or anything. That will be Pixonic will be the one at adjusting the numbers for getting these to Mark 2 or Mark 3. And for HP 97,000, I think is a bit fair for a brawler. If I remember correctly, that's the same as the Bulgasari, but I could be wrong. Miles per hour. I apologize a little bit for this little tiny error from me. It's supposed to be km/h, I think, but I mistakenly set it to miles per hour. I was a little brain dead with this. I don't know why, but regardless, even if this was KHM, it would be 33. And for the class, it's a brawler. The hard points or what weapons it can have are too heavy. I know it's basic, but I really like robots that have too heavy. Say like the Orochi, the Aojun, Lynx, Carnage, all that. And the default weapons are just the weapons that will be on the robot. Say like you unlock it with getting 10,000 components, you win one from the event with the data pads, or you win one from a giveaway. And 2 Thunders will be the default weapons, and then here's the good part, the recommended equipment. 2 Ravager and 2 Devastator. Now, the 2 Devastators, because I like the Devastator, which wish the reload wasn't so slow, and the Ravager we will get to in just a minute. Or second, whatever. We'll get to that in just a second. The Ravager is going to be a new weapon type, family of weapons that goes with it. The Ravager is the heavy, which we'll get to with the new weapons, starting with the Mangler, which is the Ravager, but for the light slot. Corporation Icarus, like the robot. And when G-Man reviewed the weapon in his stream, when I first wanted him to have a look at them first, he had a little struggle with it, but that's where I'll help him with. So, a compact shotgun that does not require reloading. And this obviously makes it a shotgun that has unlimited ammo, like the infinite ammo machine guns and the Korean lasers. The gun shoots blast the plasma charges at rapid speeds that slow enemies, which means, yes, these guns have the slow effect, like the Vajra and Mahavajra for Titans. During continuous fire, the gun's fire rate begins to decrease while it overheats. While overheating, it reduces the fire rate by 20% with a maximum of 95% until the gun cools down. Now, clearly, every weapon that can have unlimited ammo and has a drawback when overheating, clearly I had to add one for the shotguns. The machine guns, atomizer, corker, and nucleon, they become more inaccurate the longer they overheat. The lasers, they lower their damage as they overheat. The shotguns, the Mangler and Ravager, and the medium one, which we'll get to in a moment, their fire rate will go down, which I think is more than perfect. And then the shell type is energy, because obviously, 2293 damage, I think is overall okay for this thing. It's about the same, I think, for the cudgel. It's slightly more, but whatever, I'm not an expert. 500-meter range, because it's a shotgun, they have to be 500-meter range. But why did they make the Acho guns Splinter, Shatter, and Brisand 600? I know they said that was going to be a buff, but that's more of a nerf. And 30% slow strength. I don't know how I could have worded this better, but this is how I put it. And I'll guarantee to apply the slow effect if it hits something. Its effect duration is 5 seconds per stack with 12 stacks maximum. Might need to lower the number with it having 12 stacks. And an overheat capacity is 11. Now, to be confused, I'm pretty sure most of you are, this essentially is how long it takes for the gun to fully overheat. So essentially 11 seconds for the gun to fully overheat. And then this is the light slot. And the medium is the Armageddon. Now, the Armageddon is unchanged from the light weapon, except its damage 2802. Or 2802. Whichever one you say. But I go for what I think. And the Ravager, once again, unchanged, except a little bit in the wording. And the damage, 3,364. Or should I say 3,300 and a stack. Hashtag Minecraft, if you know. And now here we are with the pilots. There are 2 pilots that come with the robot. One for the robot and the other for something else. Starting with Darius Crowley for the Arbiter. Bloodthirsty Challenger, that's the name of the skill. Arbiter's ability also applies taunt to affected robots. Now, I could think of something else that the Arbiter's ability could do, but I felt like taunt could be the most interesting. Y'all can agree with me or not, but I think this would work. And then we got Zareth Black Guy, and there is a bit of history between this guy with his name, and I'm going to save that for another time, if I can. Shattered Eyes, Mauler, gosh dang it. Now, this here may be confusing, but the name Mauler here is what the Mangler was originally, because the Mauler Titan came out, so I had to change the shotgun's name from Mauler to Mangler. A little tiny tidbit there you may notice whenever Pixar releases something new that has a name that was already taken from one of my concepts. Anyways, Mauler, Armageddon, and Ravager take longer to overheat, adding 4 additional seconds to the max time it takes to heat them up. I mean, clearly there's Sam Stone, which works for the machine guns, Harold Hand for the lasers, so clearly I have to have a pilot for the shotguns. And then finally, we have the paint job, the bloodthirsty paint job for the Arbiter. Now, I don't have a visual design for what they'll look like, nor, the spoiler, any other future robot or weapon and pilot, but I'll see if I can get to that in a moment. Or whenever it happens. But I can promise you someday I will be working on some models for all of it. The weapons, pilots, paint job, robot, you name it, I'll try and make a design for it. But anyway, that's about it for this whole update overview with the very first one. I wonder what you guys will think for the Arbiter, the shotguns, the pilots, and the paint job. At least if you can try and picture what you think it would look like. But either way, I think this looks good. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.